Ever walk into your office and feel like you're in a jungle? Surrounded by all these different species, all with their own agendas? Well, turns out that's not too far off. There's a really powerful way to see the workplace as a biological ecosystem, and today, we're going to use it to figure out the people you work with every single day.
So, here's a question I want you to hold on to as we go through this. Who are the collaborators, the refugees, and the parasites on your team? I have a feeling that by the time we're done, a few faces are going to pop into your head. Okay, so the key to this whole framework comes from one idea from biology, symbiosis. It's a Greek word that literally just means living together, and it's all about how different species interact in the wild. And you know what? It is a surprisingly perfect lens for looking at our relationships at work. Now in biology, symbiosis basically comes in three main flavors. You've got mutualism, that's a plus where everybody wins. Then there's commensalism, that's like a +0 where one benefits and the other is totally unaffected. And finally, you have parasitism, the classic plus-minus where one thrives by harming the other. And the crazy thing is these three dynamics, they are absolutely playing out in your office right now.
First up, let's talk about the good guys, the heroes of our office ecosystem, the collaborators. These are the folks who create that win-win vibe, and they make everyone around them better. Their counterpart in the natural world is mutualism. Think of a bee and a flower. The bee gets nectar, the flower gets pollinated. They both need each other to thrive. That is exactly what a collaborator does in an office. They operate on this deep understanding that a win for the team is a win for them. So, how can you spot a collaborator? Well, they're the ones creating synergy. That magic where 1 + 1 suddenly equals 3. They build bridges. They form alliances. There's even a Japanese philosophy called kyosai that describes this perfectly. It means living and working together for the common good. Helping, sharing, compromise, that's their entire game. And the result of all this is pretty straightforward. These people are the engine of a healthy company. They fuel the innovation, the creativity, and the high performance that allows a business to actually grow and succeed. Okay, next up is a type that, well, it might feel a little uncomfortably familiar. Let's talk about the refugees. These folks are absolute masters of hiding in plain sight. Their parallel in nature is commensalism. The perfect example is a barnacle on a whale. The barnacle gets a free ride and a place to live, but the whale, it doesn't even notice. It isn't helped and it isn't harmed. The office refugee does the exact same thing. They latch onto a strong manager or a successful team purely for professional shelter. And this really gets to the core of their psychology. It's not about being malicious, it's all about fear. The research on this is fascinating. It suggests they are deeply aware of their own insecurities and they feel like they can't survive professionally without someone else to protect them. Their motivation isn't to cause harm, it's just to get by. So what does this survival mode look like day to day? Well, you'll see a lot of sycophancy, that over-the-top flattery. You'll see yes-manism, where they just agree with everything the boss says. They avoid taking initiative like the plague, and they're pretty good at free riding on the hard work of others. It's all about doing just enough to blend in and not get noticed. And that brings us to our third and final type. And honestly, this is the most destructive species you will find in the office jungle, the parasite.
The name pretty much says it all, right? Just like in nature, a workplace parasite benefits by harming their host. And in the office, the host is everyone else. They actively drain energy, resources, and morale from their colleagues just to serve their own agenda.
For the parasite, it is 100% about them. The success of the team, the mission of the company, that is all just background noise. Concepts like fairness, integrity, or doing their fair share, it just doesn't compute. It's not part of their operating system.
And they have a whole playbook of tactics. They're masters of social loafing, basically vanishing into the background during a group project. Then there's virtual loafing, which is using company time and tech to run their side hustle. But the most toxic behaviors? They steal credit for other people's work, and they use gossip and endless excuses to cover up their own lack of contribution.
Now, this is probably the most critical distinction to make. A refugee is passive. They're motivated by fear, and their impact on the team is basically neutral. But a parasite is active. They're motivated by exploitation, and their impact is always negative. They don't just take up space, they actively make the whole ecosystem sick.
Okay, so there you have it, the 3 species. So how does this all fit together? And more importantly, what can you actually do with this information?
So here it is, all laid out. You've got your positive impact collaborators, your neutral impact refugees, and your negative impact parasites. The key thing to realize is that every single team you've ever been on is some unique mix of these 3 types.
And let's be super clear here. The point is not to run around the office slapping labels on people's foreheads. That's not helpful. The real power of this framework is to understand the behaviors and the dynamics that are either helping or hurting your team's performance.
And that's why this matters. Because once you can recognize these patterns, you can consciously start to build a healthier ecosystem. You can create a culture that rewards collaboration, that supports people who might be struggling, and that makes it very, very difficult for parasitic behavior to take root and survive. So this brings the whole thing back to you. Take a hard look at your current work environment. What kind of ecosystem is it really? Which behaviors get rewarded? And which of these 3 types seems to be thriving the most?
And now for the most important question of all. It's time for an honest look in the mirror. Because we can all be each of these 3 types at different times. The real question is, which role do you play most often? Are you a net creator, a neutral survivor, or a net drain on your team's energy? The health of your entire office jungle depends on the answer.